By its paradox, he said, we are in a sense the purest democracy. We have become a despotism. Have you not noticed how continually in history democracy becomes despotism? People call it the decay of democracy. It is simply its fulfilment. Why take the trouble to number and register and enfranchise all the innumerable John Robinsons, when you can take one John Robinson with the same intellect or lack of intellect as all the rest, and have done with it? The old idealistic republicans used to found democracy on the idea that all men were equally intelligent. Believe me, the sane and enduring democracy is founded on the fact that all men are equally idiotic. Why should we not choose out of them one as much as another? All that we want for government is a man not criminal and insane, who can rapidly look over some petitions and sign some proclamations. To think what time was wasted in arguing about the House of Lords, Tories saying it ought to be preserved because it was clever, and Radicals saying it ought to be destroyed because it was stupid. And all the time no one saw that it was right because it was stupid, because that chance mob of ordinary men, thrown there by accident of blood, were a great democratic protest against the lower house, against the eternal insolence of the aristocracy of talents. We have established now in England the thing towards which all systems have dimly groped, the dull popular despotism without illusions. We want one man at the head of our state, not because he is brilliant or virtuous, but because he is one man, and not a chattering crowd. To avoid the possible chance of hereditary diseases or such things, we have abandoned hereditary monarchy. The King of England is chosen like a juryman upon an official rotation list. Beyond that, the whole system is quietly despotic, and we have not found it raise a murmur. "Do you really mean," asked the President incredulously, "that you choose any ordinary man that comes to hand and make him despot, that you trust to the chance of some alphabetical list?" "And why not?" cried Barker. "Did not half the historical nations trust to the chance of the eldest sons of eldest sons, and did not half of them get on tolerably well? To have a perfect system is impossible. To have a system is indispensable. All hereditary monarchies were a matter of luck. So are alphabetical monarchies. Can you find a deep philosophical meaning in the difference between the Stuarts and the Hanoverians? Believe me, I will undertake to find a deep philosophical meaning in the contrast between the dark tragedy of the A's and the solid success of the B's." "And you risk it," asked the other, "though the man may be a tyrant or a cynic or a criminal?" "We risk it," answered the Barker, with a perfect placidity. "Suppose he is a tyrant, he is still a check on 100 other tyrants. Suppose he is a cynic, it is to his interest to govern well. Suppose he is a criminal, by removing poverty and substituting power, we put a check on his criminality. In short, by substituting despotism, we have put a total check on one criminal and a partial check on all the rest." The Nicaraguan old gentleman leaned over with a queer expression in his eyes. "My Church, sir," he said, "has taught me to respect faith. I do not wish to speak with any disrespect of yours, however fantastic. But do you really mean that you will trust to the ordinary man, the man who happened to come next, as a good despot?" "I do," said Barker simply. "He may not be a good man, but he will be a good despot. For when he comes to mere business routine of governing, he will endeavour to do ordinary justice. Do we not assume the same thing in a jury?" The old President smiled. "I don't know," he said, "that I have any particular objection in detail to your excellent scheme of government. My only objection is a quite personal one. It is that if I were asked whether I would belong to it, I should ask, first of all, if I was not permitted as an alternative to be a toad in a ditch. That is all. You cannot argue with the choice of the soul." "Of the soul?" said Barker, knitting his brows. "I cannot pretend to say anything. But speaking in the interests of the public." Mr. Auberon Quin rose suddenly to his feet. "If you'll excuse me, gentlemen," he said, "I will step out for a moment into the air." "I am so sorry, Auberon," said Lambert good-naturedly. "Do you feel bad?" "Not bad exactly," said Auberon, with self-restraint. "Rather good, if anything. Strangely and richly good." The fact is, I want to reflect a little on those beautiful words that have just been uttered. Speaking, yes, that was the phrase, speaking in the interest of the public. One cannot get the honey from such things without being alone for a little." "Is he really off his chump, do you think?" asked Lambert. The old President looked after him with queerly vigilant eyes. "He is a man, I think," he said, "who cares for nothing but a joke. He is a dangerous man." Lambert laughed in the act of lifting some macaroni to his mouth. "Dangerous?" he said. "You don't know little Quin, sir." "Every man is dangerous," said the old man without moving, "who cares only for one thing. I was once dangerous myself." And with a pleasant smile he finished his coffee and rose, bowing profoundly, passed out into the fog, which had again grown dense and sombre. 3 days afterwards they heard that he had died quietly in lodgings in Soho. Drowned somewhere else in the dark sea of fog was a little figure, shaking and quaking with what might at first sight have seemed terror or ague, but which was really that strange malady, a lonely laughter. He was repeating over and over to himself with a rich accent, "But speaking in the interest of the public." End of chapter 2, book 1.